Tonight we're checking out a Partscaster. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So our tale begins tonight with a viewer of the show wanting a guitar that was on reverb that the seller would not ship internationally. Thankfully, I have a forwarding service, so I was able to help him. But wait until you see this very unique Partscaster. So, what on earth is a Partscaster? It's a guitar that kind of looks like a Fender instrument that you kind of piece together using many different parts. You know, you make it your own thing. Sometimes it could also just be, a hodgepodge of existing Fender parts. Other times you can use like officially licensed or just other things you find off of eBay. Partscaster just means it didn't leave the factory that way. So if you want to take a Fender neck, throw it on a different body, now it's a Partscaster. But this is kind of an interesting build. The seller had described it as a 1996 created with Warmoth parts. Now I'm not sure if they built it. I mean, this is not my general wheelhouse here, but they did say it's a true nitro finish. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't really know. But we could throw it onto the workbench to look at how somebody spec'd this thing out. But you've got this interesting kind of quilty bird's eye top. It does have some good movement to it. Just looking at the edge, it appears to be about 1/8 of an inch thick, so kind of veneer territory, but at least it appears to be a real wooden veneer. It's 2 humbuckers set up with some sort of a Schaller Floyd Rose. I'd be inclined to believe that's a very nice ebony fretboard. And we've kind of got that familiar Fender headstock style shape, but Warmoth is officially allowed to use that. At least nowadays, I'm not sure what their history is back in the 90s. But you've got a pretty cool bird's eye maple neck on this one too. So as far as Partscasters go, this one's actually pretty cool. Really extended cutaway over here, and a little bit of a swoop right there. First impressions, it's actually kind of chunky for a Stratocaster. The neck kind of has a slightly homemade feel to it as far as the lacquer goes, but it's not overly obvious. Warmoth today, if you go to their website, I mean, they sell a whole bunch of stuff from a raw body to some slightly more finished products, depending on, what your skill level is as far as creating a guitar. So if building something on your own is your style, that is one of many different companies that you can use. But I'm interested to see what kind of branding this might have somewhere on it. And it looks like we have a more modern Gator case, which is nice because the description actually said it just came with a gig bag, so that's a win for him. So to learn more about this Partscaster, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Now that I look at it, this guitar reminds me of cheese. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I'll let you decide. But a big shocker here on our pickups. So the listing didn't actually say what electronics this thing had. It just talked about the Schaller stuff. But imagine my surprise when, whoa, Gibson pickups. Now that could be a 57 Classic, a burst bucker, a whole bunch of other different things. But the thing you have to be careful of on Partscasters is sometimes you can find really expensive parts like real PAFs. Now this does not have the tooling marks, so we don't need to go any further. This is some sort of a reissue pickup. It could also just be some sort of a boutique pickup that utilizes a similar decal. But the bridge pickup looks the same, the decal's just worn off. But here's a look inside that pickup cavity route. So that was a great find for him. Not only does he get a beautiful guitar, but the pickups actually have some value to them. I mean, these could have been anything. I like the way that the cream plastics are really aged looking on this. It kind of matches our cheddar cheese vibe. But check that out, side jack Strat, nice. Let's verify what our stuff does. Is this a master volume? Yes. Is this a master tone? Yes. Do we have any coil splitting? No. But we get 8.33 in the bridge, 8.64 in the neck, in the middle just for fun, 4.28. So nah, not 57 Classics, probably burst buckers. Now what specific model? Can't really go further without tearing them apart. This is a Schaller version of a Floyd Rose, made in Germany, as evidenced right here. But if you're curious how thick the top is, that's the best way to see it, is right here. Here's another angle of that. I mean, some areas look thicker than others. But it's cool that we still have the comfort carve on the top. A lot of times when you use a pretty top wood like that on a Strat, they just go for a more blocky style. And if I had to guess, I think it's an alder body. Could be wrong. But it's got a nice wood grain before we get to that maple top. Then it is a bird's eye maple neck, and I think that's ebony. Now, I do offer a cleaning service for forwarded guitars. However, it's usually cheaper just to have your local tech do it, so that's what most people opt for, or they do it themselves. But I decided to condition this one because there was just way too much finger cheese on it. I was able to get the majority off of it with just a quick wipe down. But this was a nice surprise. That's actually real mother-of-pearl inlays, so not cheap acrylic stuff. I'd make the argument that it looks like they went for pearloid side marker inlays. And looks like Fender 25.5-inch scale length. And then to my eyes, I think it's a compound fretboard radius from about 10 all the way up to 16. That's the closest I get with these little feeler gauges. That's a skinny nut width, 1.62 inches. Stays pretty tiny, 2.02 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.83 and 0.89 by the 12th. And here's the neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. I would say it has like a little bit of a bump in the first area, like not quite enough to call it a soft V, but just a little bit before it transitions out to a full C. Just a little bit chunkier feeling here before it just slims out to be a shredder neck. But it's not like wizard neck thin or anything, it's just a nice C shape. Then we do have a built-in Floyd Rose locking nut, as well as a string tree right here, before we get to that unbranded headstock. It's got a really cool raw look to it. And since we didn't find anything in the top of the body branded Warmoth, I figure, yeah, we kind of need to take it apart. The setup was garbage on it when it came anyway, so whatever, we didn't lose anything here, but very interesting find in the back control plate. Tell me, have you ever seen this before? Curly Q wiring within the control cavity. Like, I know about the curly cables that sometimes people like to use, but I've never seen that used within a control cavity as wire management, I guess you could say. Here's a look at that pot and the wiring. Our Mexican capacitor looks like a similar pot. And then a pretty basic three-way toggle switch. And some sort of a secret note over here. It reads, El Tesoro es aquí. We've got a football output jack plate, large strap button right here, other one up on the horn, nothing under our neck plate, and here's a look at our Schaller Floyd Rose utilizing 4 springs. Here's where we can start to find the branding. Warmoth Guitar Products. Got their phone number, all that other good stuff. And then underneath our neck, that's usually where they brand their stuff. They've got their turtle playing guitar. And then we've got a name, U Wurlitzer. I'm not sure if that's an employee or who built this one together. They decided to put their mark. Not quite sure what 6404 means. Could be like an order number / code. And then if we flip the neck around, we can verify this is also a Warmoth part. It says Warmoth Radius. Warranty void if used without hard finish. Oils are not satisfactory. So I did not see anything that looked like a date stamp that was readable to me, so I don't know how the previous seller was able to get 1996, but check out that extra exaggerated contour on the edge here. Then you have a little bit sculpted out of the body right here as well to make the higher fret registers a little bit more comfortable, as well as that whole area just slightly falling in. And the condition of this is actually pretty good. There's a few small nicks and dings, but right here, a chipped finish area is pretty much the worst on this one. I like the mineral streaks that you have over here on the cutaway though. Neck pocket's looking pretty good. On both sides, I wouldn't say it's the tightest neck pocket out there. It's pretty easy to get the neck on and off. As far as the body goes, it appears to just be 2 pieces. One right there, and then kind of a larger chunk over there. I couldn't see a seam line anyway, even looking at the end grain. Now the backside of our bird's eye neck. So it's a bird's eye mixed with a little bit of quilt. You've got some natural wood grain. Kind of reminds me of what we saw on the Eddie Van Halen Fender signature one. Might be why they chose something like this. But that's one of the lock nut styles that routes straight through the neck. But all said and done, about 7 pounds, 12 ounces or so, because I still have my tremolo no block on it, just to make my life a little bit easier for the demo since I don't do anything with the Floyds. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. Despite potentially being Gibson humbuckers, it sounds really different in this guitar. Especially that middle position. More Strat-like, but the neck? there we go, an interesting Warmoth Partscaster build. What are my final thoughts? I think this one might need a slight shimming of the metal nut because it's a little bit buzzy in the first fretting registers. However, once you go up the rest of the neck, it actually plays really nicely. It's got good action. I would make the argument that the fretboard feels rather wide on this model, despite the measurements that we took, making it seem thin. So maybe rolling the edges of the neck would be beneficial on this one because it just feels a little bit blocky, I guess is a good way to put it. But it's got a really cool body on it. Floyd Rose ended up finding out 2 Gibson humbuckers. That's pretty nice. I hope he enjoys his new guitar, so I need to go ahead and pack this one up and send it off. So that's the great thing about Partscasters. You can make them whatever you want, and you can just play them and not worry about value necessarily. So alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.